Welcome back, everybody. We are about to enter one of the mightiest tests of this year's Tour de France. It is the Plateau de Bay, a huge climb in terms of its magnified importance, coming as it does at the end of 2 hard weeks of racing. A rest day tomorrow. It's time, if you're playing poker, I guess, to go all in. Well, those out front that have set themselves this task have an advantage of 2 minutes and 34 over a raft of GC contenders that are determined to test themselves against each other. In so doing, they may well close the gap on those who are up the road. Laurens de Plus, Jai Hindley, Richard Carapaz, Enric Mas, and latterly joining them, Tobias Johannesson, who's got back on the flat section, which, of course, the likes of Pogacar and Vingegard are still enduring for now. If you want endurance, think about Mark Cavendish and a group of 10 riders who sit at 38 minutes down. And if they are, as predicted, possibly going to lose up to 16 minutes more just on the final climb today, which our head of our race is already engaged with, then that could spell disaster, moving towards the time cutoff. Personally speaking, I think they'll just make it. I certainly hope they do. I have to say that Mark Cavendish has been a master of that in the past, and he's got Alexei Litsenko, Case Ball as well, to just help him drive across the valley. They are still descending to get down to that valley position, so it's getting on for 40 minutes down, and we'll keep an eye on that clock. I'm sure you will as well. Now, though, Sean, it's time to dig in. Enric Mas, he looked like he struggled yesterday. He's refound his mojo big time. He is in elevated company here, in an elevated position. What can he do?
Well, we will see now in the next 15.2 kilometres and who is going to be the best out of this group. But 2:26, I'm afraid for those guys that, you know, with this long climb, the steep gradient, no respite at all at any point during that 16 kilometres, it is going to be really difficult for those guys. And, you know, Enric Mas, we see him yesterday in difficulty, but that was in the group of the big favourites, and he knew, you know, he wasn't going to be up to the challenge there to take on those guys. In a breakaway, it's a different situation. When you look at the riders he's with, and when you look at the qualities of Enric Mas in the past, like, he's a super climber, but hasn't been performed as he would have liked to be in this tour and way down the GC. So now it's all about a stage win. And if he can get a stage win, that will make up a lot for his disappointment in the general classification.
Look at those black sectors right at the very beginning of this climb. Of the first 5 kilometres, 4 of them are over 9%. It's a nightmare. Well, it'll be a dream scenario for somebody. This is, of course, the main chase coming in, detailed as the peloton, because there are riders all over these Pyrenean mountains. And Wilco Kelderman has done his fantastic job, and it is now at a close. Well, it's going pop for quite a few up here, Sean. The Jakob Fuglsang, nothing more for the day. Marc Soler has been a driving force for Tadej Pogacar. He's also suffering, I'm afraid. Ben Healy, almost the hero of the race so far. No wins for him just yet, despite all of his efforts. He's been in the service of Carapaz to slingshot him up the road. Others as well. Guillaume Martin just struggling here. Simon Yates, who had high hopes of being up towards the pointy end on a day such as this. In fact, from that particular group, he is still bouncing. 2 minutes and 1 now, and the clock is just absolutely tumbling as we start to pick it up, and Tadej Pogacar starts to just decide that maybe it's time for a show of strength. They've not been benign, Sean, but equally they've not been as aggressive as they have been, and of course he still has with him the master plan that is Adam Yates to deliver blows to the solar plexus like no other. Pogacar hanging on Jonas Vingegard at the moment, and we're into the crowds. We're into the pointy end of this amazing day.
Yes, and we can see riders in difficulty. We can see Derek G there in difficulty already, and he's also, you know, in the 9th position at just over 9 minutes down the GC certification. And, you know, this is going to, I think, catch anybody that are, you know, suffering at this point. As you go further up the climb, it is going to cause a lot of problems for the GC men, and I feel, you know, we will see some of the GC riders losing a lot of time here. The question is, we can see Matteo Jorgensen just pushing on here. It will be important how long he can keep it going, because we can see also Almeida there having difficulty. That just tells, and UAE, they haven't contributed anything today, and that just shows how much this is after sapping the energy of everybody.
Matteo Jorgensen, I'm not quite sure, Jonathan Wouters, whether that was a planned exchange of his bike. Did he have a technical, or has he changed the gearing just for this?
No, I think that was just a technical, but man, is he an impressive rider.
Phenomenal.
I mean, he's one of the strongest riders in the race, but obviously he's not riding his own race. He's riding it, for Jonas. But from a team manager perspective, what he's doing has been pretty incredible. And today, even more so.
Well, Tadej Pogacar smashed the climbing record yesterday on our finale. Will records fall here as well? Big pickup by Jai Hindley, man who's, of course, dominated the Giro d'Italia in the past. Can he possibly spring something out of this? The man who chases onto his wheel is Tobias Johannesson. Something of a surprise after he was dropped a little bit earlier on in this race. Got himself back in to this pointy end. Laurens de Plus just grinds into this as well, almost TTing himself back up. Mas looking like he may be a bit second-hand. He displays his fatigue on his face very easily, but Richard Carapaz looks cool as you like just for the time being. You feel like there's potential here. Coiled spring time and here he goes. It is indeed. There is that potential writ large. He's gone, and Mas suddenly, from looking like he was on a torture rack, goes with him. It's the pair of them duking it out for a stage victory here. Can they possibly hold on? The gap's come down, tumbled as you will, to just 89 seconds, 13.6 kilometres from home. A nice rhythm to be set here by Richard Carapaz. He can attack, he can mess with people's heads, he can change his pace almost at will, it seems. He's got more gears in his head than he has on the bike, and he makes them work for him. That's the kind of attitude and the kind of capability, Sean, that can deliver on a day like today.
Yes, well, they have to deliver, and they have to deliver early on this time, plus 13 kilometres to go here, and they know that this gap is coming down 1:27 back to the yellow jersey, and that is the concern. You could see they're looking around here, who's going to do the pulling on the front. We see Hindley just putting in a little bit of a tester there to see what the reaction would be. Then Carapaz goes for it, and they're all concerned about the pace being set back in this group, as we can see more riders starting to lose ground here. Ciccone starting to lose. The GC men further down, Gal also from Decathlon, he's in difficulty, a brilliant climber, and that just tells Jorgensen. And we know, we've seen this year, like this guy, he's a huge talent. He's at the service of his leader here, Vingegard, and he's doing a powerful performance.
He is, but when does Vingegard go? That's the point. And looking behind, we got Pogacar as well, almost on a tow rope between the pair of them. Adam Yates now just starts to bounce up into position. He'll be offering a back wheel before you know it to Tadej Pogacar. Tadej has a habit of leading his own team up mountains and then calling on them to service wherever he requires them. Let's see, minute and 26 only. Fabulous drive by Richard Carapaz. He's testing those out front, Jonathan.
Yeah, I would say the guys out front need to stop playing with each other a little bit and really, I mean, they've just got to hold like a very high, fast rhythm. I mean, I love seeing Richard attack, and it looks very impressive when he does a big rhythm change like that. But if you really want to win, you kind of got to not worry about the other guys with you and just set a high, steady pace. That's the only chance these guys have. The more they mess around with each other, the less their chances are. So even this, they keep looking back, and Mas just swung off. Like this is garbage if you're trying to win the stage. It's just got to be steady, fast, and you kind of almost have to not worry about the other people in the breakaway at this point because the group behind is so tight.
One thing is they're testing each other out and they're spurring each other on as well, Sean. They're kind of reminding each other what is at stake today.
Well, I think they're faffing around too much here because
I agree.
With 14 kilometres to go there, they started attacking each other, and you have to ride tempo. and then you pull over and you hope the other rider will do the same for a bit. Although, the drafting and the advantage in the wheel is not great on a climb, but still mentally, when you've a rider or 2 or 3 riders in front of you, you feel that you're gaining something here. And with the advantage they have, starting into the climb, whatever it was, around the minute and 30, it's just so tight here. They have to, really get working together. But Jonathan, as he agrees, it's not like in our day where you make agreement with the riders to say, okay, we ride. It seemed to be now, just the spur of the moment. Bang, I'll attack. Okay, another bang over the top, and that's the way they ride. And going back in this race as well, the team of Red Bull, they had a great opportunity. I think they blew it here.
12.4 kilometres before we are indeed at our finale. I was just about to say, don't regard any of these riders as lesser favoured, because when you get to a position such as this, at the end of a day, Sean, when you've given so much, it's almost like an evening out. You have to almost disregard the differences between the riders historically, because it's about the now, isn't it, and how you've preserved yourself up to this point.
Well, when you're in a position like this, if you have 4 or 5 minutes an advantage, then you can play around a bit and throw in these teasers to see who is going to react, and you will get a picture who is feeling good, because they're the ones who will be onto your wheel immediately and start riding. But in this situation, it's a panic situation for the guys out in front, and they're hoping that this will be a bit of stalemate back in the group of favourites, but I don't think we will see that. And with 12 kilometres to go, it's just way too far for those guys. 1:13 at the moment, back to the yellow jersey. It ain't going to happen for them today for the breakaway.
Ciccone is thinking about his top 10. He's also thinking about the wheel of Felix Gall at the moment. He's absolutely locked on it, as you can see. Meanwhile, out front, in the chase, I should say, still very much a great job being done here by Matteo Jorgensen. He is phenomenal. Just behind him, Jonas Vingegard nursing the Pogacar jersey on behalf of Tadej Pogacar, who's still not mouth-breathing, apparently, Sean. He looks so relaxed at situations like this. And I have to say as well, Adam Yates, who's often hard to read, looks like he is waiting to be spurred on as well.
Yes, well, Tadej, we know you cannot just take from his visual looks. You have to just test him, and we did see Pogacar, in this tour he was waving the camera and everything was fine, and then further up the next climb he got into real difficulty. So you have to test him physically, and the question is, who's going to give the big sucker punch first here? Will it be the yellow jersey? Will it be Vingegard? Remco Evenepoel, let's not forget, he could just, well, if he's in good shape and he feels that, okay, I'll try, and maybe they might mark each other a bit and he can take some time back in the GC standings, that is a possibility. But we can see here it's still Jorgensen just pounding away on the front here, and in the meantime the gap advantage to the leaders is coming down.
Remco Evenepoel, whenever he has a bad day, he bounces back usually, but that bad day by his own extraordinarily high standards. Remember in the Vuelta last year where he had an awful day, and then the next day comes back and wins with a phenomenal solo. He's got Mikkel Landa with him as well, and I'm just wondering what indeed Remco can do. He actually looks at the moment like he is just, his mind is up the road, which means he's minded to do something very well. He could be indeed that hidden card here. Well, straight out and on the deck, starting to play the game. Enric Mas, he goes. Johannesson comes with him. 11.5 kilometres to go, and Richard Carapaz, no response from him just for the time being. Have they got the drive to get back over? They're sitting on the back wheel of Valence de Plus just for now. Jai Hindley is part of that chasing trio. It's a duo up the road. Any fears, Jonathan?
No, I mean I would be more upset if I didn't think that this group from behind is going to take them back. I think, Richard, this is the point in the race where he is now paying for that effort where he had to bridge across earlier. It's not an immediate effect. It kind of just catches up with you slowly, and now we can see it's catching up with him.
Jonathan Ortis, team principal of EF Education Easy Post. Fabulous to have him along, of course, especially because Richard Carapaz has been, and indeed Healy have been such a fabulous part of this day. And here we go, kicking on, and said, see ya, I'm out of here. Makes you wonder about that deficit that was left behind when the big breakaway group fractured. And, of course, Richard Carapaz had to bridge over all by himself. Meanwhile, it's going to be a trio up front. He is, and it's got, what, 57 seconds, Sean, back to the Maillot Jaune. It's only a minute. We've got 11 kilometres to go. The benchmark is that you give a minute per 10 kilometres. It's under that right now. Surely the stage win may well come from behind.
Well, it looks, it's going to come from behind unless they really start playing around behind. When Jorgensen finishes up his effort on the front here, who's going to take up the pace setting out of this group? That is the question, as we can see. Butrego and also in difficulty here. And just slowly, we're losing all these real talented climbers. We can see Rodriguez getting into a little bit of difficulty as well, losing a bit of ground here. And that tells the pace that's been set by Matteo Jorgensen. It is a real leg breaker for excellent climbers, proven 3-week riders. He's doing an excellent job here. But yeah, up front, they're still starting, to continue on to attack each other. But I'm afraid, it's not going to happen. It's going to come out of this group, the stage winner here today. And it'll be interesting now to see how long more this man can continue on setting this infernal pace.
Well, we're waiting for Jonas to give him the moment, the sign that his job is now at an end. For the time being, he's still asking huge questions. The man is asking questions of himself here. It's Richard Carapaz, and he's decided the best way to help is to help yourself, and that's precisely what he's doing, leaving behind Tobias Johannesson, who instigated this latest move, followed by Enric Mas. But now Richard Carapaz is making a noise up front, and Jonathan Wouters, this must be a joy to you. I hope he, as a neutral, that he manages to hold on here.
Well, I think he's heard what Sean and I have been saying, and he's basically calling us out on the bluff, saying, that I'm going to hold this 41-second gap all
Jonas
the way.
Comes round. Jonassen's done his job, and it's Tadej Pogacar who goes, and we're looking at Remco Evenepoel. Can he possibly hold on here? Adam Yates can't come and join the party. He's been there just in case, but quite frankly, the suitcase is now full. It's these two, and they have headed off up the road. This was the big battle plan by Jonas Vingegard. It's been on our screens all day. Burn everybody down and hope that you don't burn yourself. And right now, goodness me, Jonas Vingegard and Tadej Pogacar, it's them again, Sean, mano a mano with Evenepoel, just trying his best to hold on to their coattails. They've flown the coop here.
Yes, and not surprising, because the day they've been through, the pace being set by Jorgensen, we did see that there was a lot of the riders getting into difficulty, and when this man attacks, of course, then it's going to cause big problems, and the only one able to follow Vingegard is Pogacar. We can see Remco Evenepoel there just doing his thing, setting his pace. They are not trying to follow immediately and get into his rhythm, and it's going to be an interesting one. The man here in the polka dot jersey, will he be able to put this man in difficulty? We can see the way Pogacar is spinning the gear. Doesn't look like he's in difficulty at all, but you have to try.
Doesn't look like he's in difficulty at all. Takes a bottle. This will just be for cooling down, I imagine. Here we go. That's exactly right. The look over his shoulder over to the left was to see the camera bike, and to my mind, it was whether or not to take advantage of it as it was sailing by. There is Remco Evenepoel. He has not given up the ghost just yet. We still have some very steep sections to take, we remind you. And in fact, the next one comes with about 6.5 to 7 kilometres to go. So those who are up ahead of them by only a margin of 16 seconds, well, I think it is going to be this pair that hits that steep section first, and then you just watch. It's going to be a duke out between the pair of them, Sean. This is going to be a mighty sprint that I think everyone was hoping for.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be a sprint, because Pogacar is getting the easier ride here. Jonas has to continue on setting this pace, and he is hoping that he will put the yellow jersey in difficulty. For the moment, it doesn't look like that, but you just never know, and you have to continue on with your strategy, and that's what he's doing at the moment. But this is a long way. It's 10 kilometres out exactly when Jonas had to go in the attack. That's where you need good teammates. And we did see yesterday with UAE, they used the team to a point where Yates went up the road and then Pogacar jumps across them and uses all his teammates to maximum. This is a big ask for Jonas Vingegard to put this yellow jersey in difficulty.
Tobias Johannesson within their sights right now, and then only a matter of a couple of seconds or so, or a handful. There we are. As you see it, they come into view. Richard Carapaz and Enric Mas, and it is Jonas Vingegard sporting the polka dots today on behalf of Tadej Pogacar, who just comes round, and the exhausted Tobias Johannesson just unable to cede that position quickly enough for Pogacar's liking. He goes through, and Vingegard spears up through the centre, an undiminished pace, and it's only Richard Carapaz who can stay with them by the looks of things. Is Mas going to be able to hold on here as well with 9.3 to go? Evenepoel is at a 9-second margin, so still doggedly pursuing them, and there's the cooling duties. That's what the soigneurs are on here, just handing out bottles. Get out of my way, says Richard Carapaz, turning Bidon into water pistol just to clear the road here. And clear minds are what you're going to need now, Sean, with the pair of them out and ready to pounce here on each other.
So, you know, yes. The Plateau de Bay actually flattens out a little bit here. And it's, I just, to me, and I got to take off here in a second, but damn, Richie, good job. Being able to hold the wheel of those two after you've been out front all day long, like that's, I mean, I don't know how long it'll last, but he definitely gets an extra scoop of ice cream tonight.
Thank you, Jonathan. Jonathan Botas, genius at work. He's the man whose battle plans have been writ large upon our screens many times. You'll be finding him in the breakaway with Orla shortly. Thank you, Jonathan. Meanwhile, back to this, our pleasure entirely. 8.9 kilometres from home, and it is starting, as always, Sean, to be graded. And what marks, indeed, are these guys making on each other, for goodness sake?
Well, they're the two big challengers to win this race, and that's what we're expecting on the big days. They were going to be the front of the race. And
here they are. Sean, we've seen this scenario so many times. It almost seems if it's going to be a finish, it's usually the pair of them. I don't know who's going to win today.
Well, it's an interesting one. We can see that Vingegard, he's just set on pushing on this pace a long ways out from the finish at 10 kilometres to go on this very difficult climb. We know that Vingegard, he likes the long climbs and just set that infernal pace, and that's what he's trying to do here. But will he put Pogacar in difficulty? It will take a number of kilometres more, and there is a lot more. 8.5 still to go, so we will wait and see. And looking at Pogacar here, he looks quite comfortable, but again, he's the rider. He has that style. He just sits in the saddle when he's not really going for it, and he just turns the pedals, but he can get in difficulty. We've seen that before. It looks like he's okay, but then suddenly he does start to show weaknesses. Will he show that today? The next 8.3 kilometres will be the test.
Well, two riders like this, Vingegard and Pogacar, come along once in a lifetime, and I'm sure that Remco Evenepoel is thinking, why does it have to be in my lifetime? They are here. They have distanced the young man who leads the young riders competition, and Vingegard still looks nice and smooth, I must admit. Very hard to read in all circumstances, but right now it's a big old book of results that they are writing here. Tadej Pogacar looks more pensive than I've seen him for a while, Sean. This is going to be fascinating. The terrain, you would think, better suited Pogacar yesterday, and sure enough, he had the beating of Vingegard. A little bit more explosive, by nature, would have suited you yesterday. What about today? Well, we looked at the parcours and we thought, well, it's got Vingegard at his best written all over it. And Carapaz is still doggedly determined to make it home, at least on the day's podium here. And Remco Evenepoel is going to just grab his wheel in a few moments' time. What a battle, Sean.
Yes, well, we were always forecasting a battle on this stage. When you look at the amount of metres climbing they had today, or around the 5,000, and a long stage as well. At this point in the race, it was always going to be the test of the big champions and the challengers to win this race, and in the GC standing, and that's what we're seeing on the road at the moment. The two main men of this race that were going to come head to head on these real difficult days, they're out in front battling here, and this man, Evanpool, he's battling really well here. 26 seconds at the moment. Carlos Rodriguez at 1:23. Everybody is just giving their all here in this final 7.6 kilometres. And this man here, the defending champion, is trying to put the yellow jersey in difficulty, and he is just continuing on. And you know, we did say about this climb, the longer climbs, that's where Vingegard seems to come into his best. And will he be able to do that today? Will he be able to distance this man? That he still have a lot of road to do with 7.5 kilometres on a climb of this gradient. You know, it is a big challenge all the time out ahead of them.
Well, I love the fans and I love their enthusiasm. Our prayer always is that they don't interfere with the race. Saw a little bit of that yesterday. Thankfully, a little bit more respect. They've been warned, indeed, by the security services here, just to give some space. And please, whatever you do, don't touch the riders. The gentleman who tried to cross that line yesterday spent the night in the cells and will be charged. 7.3 kilometres from home. They're absolutely locked together, Sean. But every time we go through some of the curves, it seems to be Vingegard that's smoothest through them at the moment. I don't know whether I'm overreading it. We're going to find out, I guess.
Well, we will find out, and you know, 7+ kilometres to go here. We could see an attack from the yellow jersey Pogacar, because he is getting, you know, the easier ride. Also, when you're sitting behind a rider, you know, it gives you that mentality of sitting behind a rider for a long time. You're gaining the advantage, although on the climb it doesn't help as much as on the flat. So we will have to wait and see, and I can't see, you know, who is the smoothest here. I can't take anything from, you know, the pedaling style of the two riders here on our screens at the moment. It will be really when the attacks come, and will they be an attack? Will Pogacar, you know, just sit on Vingegard right to the finish and just take the stage win and the bonus that are available? I doubt that. I think he will try something, because, you know, he knows this man is going to dig deep, and it depends on how good Vingegard is today. If he can continue on setting this infernal pace, well, then he might have the yellow jersey suffering at this moment.
We shall see. Pogacar's first win, he finished in front of Remco Evenepoel, don't forget, into Valois. It was a downhill run, took lots and lots of risks. Vingegard just kept himself honest. We felt that he's had to work his way into this race, coming back as he does from horrendous injuries suffered in the Basque Country. A remarkable compressed approach to this race, where he has done everything to be in this position, and the hope was that he could grow into the race, and he's certainly done that. Victorious, of course, on stage 11 as he was, levelling up the scores in terms of stage wins. Yesterday Pogacar beat the field, but the nearest man to him, of course, was Jonas Vingegard, and here they are again, going head-to-head with 6.4 kilometres to go on this 9% section. It's the last tough section that they'll have to deal with. It eases, but only down to 8% or so. They're at 10 at the moment. They're at maximum, Sean, as well, against each other here.
Yes, well, who is at the most max at the moment? That is the question now, and we will see as we go through. 6.3 to go. We see, you know, on the mountain here we can see Landa, who is just pushing on. He's ahead of Rodriguez, so that battle is also further down the mountain here for the GC, because Landa, of course, he's just very close, a place behind Carlos Rodriguez of the Ineos Grenadiers team, and that's what's going on in this mountain. That battle for the places in the GC is also continuing further back the road, but the big battle is here between the two big favourites to win this race outright.
Well, the megaphones have been through, warning the crowds in multiple languages to behave themselves, and the security bikes, as you can see, are just persuading the fans to give them plenty of room, and that's precisely what we're getting. 13% we hit on this last. Here we go, Sean. This is the open plateau that we will reach just beyond the tree line, where indeed there are a whole raft of more fans, and of course, crucially, the finish line of today. What a day.
Yes, well, we can see here for the moment the fans, they're big numbers on the roadside, but lots of room. But as we get further up, we might see that funneling effect, and yeah, for two riders out in front is not a problem. Let's hope we don't see any more problems that we've been having this race and in other races as well. But yeah, it's a man against man battle here, and we're inside the final 6 kilometres, but there's a lot of difficult terrain, very steep gradients to come, and yeah, Vingegard continue on to work on it and see can he put this man in difficulty. And yeah, you ask yourself the question of the Visma Lease bike, if they had somebody to set the pace in the earlier part of the climb, you know, it would be an advantage to Vingegard not having to ride 10 kilometres on the final mountain on the front. But he's got to do it, and that is the strategy, that's the tactic they set out with today. Made the race very difficult with the team all day, and now he has to just got to do it and continue all the way to the finish.
Remco Evenepoel, he's going to have Mikkel Landa with him, I think, within a short while. Landa has just extricated himself from Tobias Johannesson and is setting off possibly to be a little bit of a life raft for Remco Evenepoel. He's also very well placed himself, Mikkel Landa, within the top 10. He's starting the day 7 minutes and 17 down, and so there is plenty for him to battle uniquely. But he's been a great servant as Mikkel Landa for Remco Evenepoel in the high ground, and today he is going to be required. Meanwhile, this pair, they're looking at each other, and it looks like Jonas Vingegard is asking for a turn here, Sean. Is that a towel? Here we go. Oh, maybe it was. And the story is that Tadej Pogacar sees that requirement, sees that request for help, and he's decided to help himself. 5.3 kilometres to go. Rounds his man on the inside, the opposite side that he looked. And this looks magnificent. Is this finally the pivotal point of this Tour de France, where Tadej Pogacar, as he has done before, as he did in the Giro d'Italia, simply takes control?
Yes, well, it was a question of, you know, how long was he going to stay in the wheel of Jonas Vingegard, setting that pace? Was he in difficulty a bit? Not at all. We can see the yellow jersey. He hits here with just 5.3 to go, and now it's a question of Vingegard. You know, he'll have to just dig deep here and try and limit the loss to the yellow jersey, or try and get back to him. But we can see here he's walking away at it as we go through. Still 5 kilometres to go.
Goodness me. Well, still 5 kilometres to go. It picks up again after this this momentary little easement in the percentages, but they're going to kick back up again. We hit 13% a few moments ago. It's already 60 metres, Sean, 62. It's hovering around that margin. Vingegard is battling all the way. Remco Evenepoel just to be met, should be met by Mikkel Landa, I think, out there. This was the moment, Sean.
Yes, this is the moment. We can see Vingegard, he just looks at him, but no, wasn't able to respond, you know, to that kick from Pogacar. And we know Pogacar, he's very explosive, so we'll have to wait and see for Vingegard if he gets into the rhythm. 60 metres, you just can see him dangling out there in front of you, but, you know, will he be able to hold it at that? Will he be able to close down in this final 4.7 to go? We can see here this man is into a rhythm here, and he's looking good. But Vingegard also, he is, you know, a big fighter, and we have seen that in the past, the way he can get back into his rhythm. It all depends on, you know, how much energy those guys have left, and it's all about how much you have in the tank here. And we can see here the gap is growing out. 13 seconds at the moment. It's just going in the wrong direction for this man, Jonas Vingegard.
13 seconds it holds at. How emphatic does Tadej Pogacar want to make the day? Well, he's got a rest day tomorrow. He can afford, metaphorically, to go all in at this moment. Here's Evenepoel, minute and a half down with Mikkel Landa now, I'm afraid, not making inroads to help with the drive, but I think Evenepoel will be reasonably happy with his position in third on the road at the moment. Vingegard, it's 18 seconds now, 19 seconds. With every pedal stroke, it seems Tadej Pogacar is putting his stamp of authority on this race, Sean.
Yes, he certainly is, and we can see it's growing out, you know, quite quickly. 21 seconds, and yeah, it looks like he's going to take a lot more time out of the defending champion Vingegard. It will be interesting to see as we go to 4.2 kilometres to go at the finish. It's going to be big advantage to the yellow jersey. How much that will be, it will depend on how Vingegard can dig deep here and try and limit the losses. You know, it's not race over, but still, second day in a row, the yellow jersey, you know, has just proven that he's the better one on those real difficult climbs, and you know, that is the big morale boost as well. Time-wise, of course, it's the huge thing, but for the morale as well, and for the yellow jersey, Pogacar, this is going to be, you know, a real advantage. And for the man who is defending here, this is going to be a bit of a morale boost again on, you know, another difficult day here in the Pyrenees.
Well, rather cruelly, that time gap seems to be bouncing between 18 and 23 at the moment, but I think it is widening still. And here we go, 24 seconds now with 3.7 kilometers to go. A little flat section here, lull you into a false sense of security, and then we'll kick round and we'll head out. We're just beyond the tree line now, Sean. He's into the wild blue yonder.
Yes, well, he's into the zone now. It's just all about keep your focus. You know, give it your all here and try and push as much into the man he needs to, who's chasing him on the road here. Gain as much time as possible, because, you know, when you're in this situation, that's what you've got to do here. And yeah, we can see here the way the yellow jersey Pogacar, he's just, you know, flying up this mountain. And 8%, you know, he is going at a real fast rate. And not surprising, the gap is growing out back to Vingegard, 26 seconds at the moment. When you look at the day and you look at Visma, tactic-wise, and it's easy to talk in hindsight, but should you have, you know, maybe waited off for a bit later, because the breakaway, going ahead and winning the stage, that doesn't matter. It's all about on the final mountain doing the damage and use your teammates a bit better. And Jorgensen, and we see Kelderman had to ride a long way. It's far too out from the finish. You could have used him in the beginning of the climb, then have Jorgensen to set the pace, you know, the first number of kilometres, and take Vingegard to maybe 5 kilometres to go, and then maybe try and do something. But yeah, this was always a big ask. When Vingegard hit out 10 kilometres to go, I was saying, oh, this is going to be a long ways to do the damage with this man sitting in his wheel.
It may well have been not by design, Sean. It was the only thing that they had as an option. And they wanted to make a statement as well, I think, to hit back after the team dominance that we've seen from UAE Team Emirates. Visma Lease Bike wanted basically to do the same, I think. Punch and counter punch, for goodness sake. But it just did not work for them. I think the element that was missing was probably Sepp Kuss, a man who fell ill, I'm afraid, during the Dauphiné. Vingegard himself said, of course, we miss him, but we've got a great team around me. Well, that team today, Sean, I'm afraid, have just burnt themselves down in the service of this man and for our entertainment. It's been glorious. But, as you say, maybe if they'd let the breakaway go, as you say, in hindsight as well, you just never know. If it had worked, we'd be singing this gloriously from the treetops, which we're now leaving behind.
Yes, well, if we had a different tactic, a different strategy from Visma Lease Bike here, and just sit back, leave the breakaway go away, because you know, the men in the breakaway in the GC, there were no danger whatsoever, and you know, keep your men in reserve for the final. And that means, you know, maybe 60-70 kilometres out, start using the riders we see much early in the day, like a Benoot, like of Schachnik, Van Aert, all of those guys. And then in the final, use the better climbers and try and take their leader further up this final climb, and then see can you do the damage in the final 5 or 6 kilometres. But Vingegard had to take it up so early. It was always going to be a difficult one against this man. When you look at the way he was riding yesterday, but they had a plan to you know, to put in action here today, and they went out and done it, but it hasn't worked out for them, and they're just going to lose more time, as we see 37 seconds to this man.
The air fetty goes off. They are indeed, the crowd, hyper animated, and well as they might be. They're seeing a man here in Tadej Pogacar with a 36-second margin for the time being over Jonas Vingegard. He's put over 2 minutes already into Remco Evenepoel, himself a fantastic rider. And indeed, the rest of everybody else has been put to the sword by Tadej Pogacar. He's in the mood, Sean.
Well, he is in the mood, and he has to be in the mood. You know, this is the D-Day, as yesterday was also, the days when you have to be able to produce the performance. The terrain presents itself, and my God, the terrain has, you know, tested everybody here today after a very difficult day yesterday. And it's this man who is, you know, standing up to it and, you know, taking the race, you know, in his fists and just grabbing the opportunity here and, you know, making bigger advantage back to the man who was chasing him, Vingegard here, going out to 40 seconds at the moment.
And these are his people. Fabulous. Well, King of the Hill. The man wearing the King of the Mountains sits at 42 seconds. Remco Evenepoel at 2 minutes and 10. Mikkel Landa, nearest man to Evenepoel, is at 3 minutes and 5. And in betting parlance, horse racing parlance, it's bar those. My goodness, what a bar, Sean. He's raised it again.
Yes, well, he is proven to be the best man of the two big challengers here, and you can see, you know, he's just pulling out the advantage of this man, and it looks like it's going to be a huge time loss.
Well, good news for Mark Cavendish and all fans of those who are suffering today. They have just started the climb, so add 16 minutes to the Mark Cavendish deficit. We'll get back to that in a few moments' time. Meanwhile, this man is bringing it all home here. Vingegard at 45 seconds, 3/4 of a minute down. Sean, that is a wound that's almost too much to bear.
Well, it is going to be a big one, considering that Vingegard started out this morning in the GC at 1:57. It's going to be another minute at least here for the man defending the champion here, and we can see Vingegard, you know, he is suffering, and you know, he's just going to try and get into the finish here in the final 1,200 metres, 1,100 metres as quickly as possible, but the time loss is going to be a big one here. And yeah, you know, looking at the earlier part of the day, we were wondering, Visma Lease bike, the way they were controlling the race, the way they were making it difficult, was the defending champion be able to pull something out of the bag, but it hasn't been the case against this man. He is, you know, the dominant man of the day on this real difficult stage here in the Pyrenees.
Let me just tell you, Mark Cavendish, Gruppetto at 36 minutes down. If it takes them, if they lose another 16 minutes on the climb, it'll put them at 51 minutes. That is very touch and grow. Meanwhile, let us dwell on this man. He is now up amongst the blue sky here, and more than that, he has taken flight. This day, a difficult day. Some say the most difficult of this entire Tour de France. It's self-billed as one of the most difficult in memory. Well, yesterday was an uphill finish, an amazing one to Saint-Lary. Pogacar took that ahead of Jonas Vingegard. He's going to take this ahead of the very same man. 1, 2, possibly 1, 2, 3 today, exactly the same as it was yesterday. But the margins are absolutely enormous. And you can give margin none of that to this man. He is phenomenal. You can't cut him any slack because he will just cut you down. Today, it was a magnificent effort by Jonas Vingegard and Visma Lease bike to try and put him to the test. He passed it with flying colours. He will be wearing a gold stage medal, and of course he'll be turning yellow to gold in this most amazing piece of climbing alchemy. He is in charge of this race. Tadej Pogacar, has he just won the Tour? No, but he's taken a massive step towards doing precisely that. He's going to bring this home like it is his home. He owns the place, for goodness sake. Any peak, any time. It's mine. Wow. And the clock counts back, Sean, to Jonas Vingegard. As brave as you like. A brave strategy today as well. His entire team were lined out for him, but the line had already been drawn in the sand by Tadej Pogacar, and he just couldn't step over it in the end. And we're going to find out by what margin he failed to do so.
Yes, well, it is going to be an enormous margin, and yeah, we can see this man again, another monster performance on this final climb. He did it yesterday. He took 39 seconds out of Vingegard yesterday in a 10-kilometre climb. Today, of course, you know, just that 16-kilometre climb, it is going to be over the minute here. And this man, he is after having a real difficult one to try to limit the losses here, and the losses are going to be big.
Absolutely enormous. Well, you saw him there just a few moments ago, Sean. Fatigue washing over him, just took a wobble towards the barriers. Thankfully, just managed to hold on to the bars. And here it is, absolutely as you predicted. It's over a minute, for goodness sake. Let's see the margin. 1 minute and 8, Sean. What a huge gap.
Yes, it is a huge one. But this man, you know, he is that sort of rider. When he's on his top shape, the performance he can do on a final mountain, we see it already in the Giro this year. Again today, an exhibition, but an exhibition against, real top riders like Vingegard, but he won the battle big time today.
What a remarkable time to be a cycling fan. Just to witness this greatness laid bare before us constantly. Day after day they do battle for our entertainment, and we thank them for it. Remco Evenepoel coming home, Sean, as brave a rider as you could find. And today, at the beginning of the day, he said just to be close to Tadej Pogacar and Jonas Vingegard when they're on this kind of form is a privilege. And it's a privilege to watch him as well, doggedly determined to make sure he's on that overall podium. And he's here by rights, our young riders classification leader.
Yes, well, he is riding an excellent Tour de France, of course. His first Tour de France. He's a young rider. He's here, to try and do the best performance and gain experience as well. But what a performance he's putting up here, because, again, yesterday, same situation. He was the third man to finish at 1:10. Today he's going to, lose over 2.5 minutes here, but still an excellent performance. And he is going to, keep his place on the podium there. And I think that's what he was talking about this morning, to defend that, and he's defended real well.
There is an awful lot of racing still to be done, but I think our podium is before us now, as if there were any doubt even at the start of today. Great respect between Vingegard and Pogacar, just trying to exchange a pleasantry between the pair of them. Ultimate respect, but the best of enemies, Sean, when they're out on the mountain.
Well, I think, we always see that after the finish, they congratulate each other, but when they're on the mountain, like, it's the battle, and you just give it your all in the battle, and that's what it's about. Bike racing, you have a lot of very good friends, but when you're out on the road there's no cadeaux.
Mikkel Landa coming in, a man who, of course, had his own ambitions, now has fallen into the service of Remco Evenepoel and has refound himself, I think, when it comes to the high ground. Often in the past accused of shoulders dropping just a little bit when things didn't go his way. Well, it seems perhaps with principal status taken away, he has suddenly thrived. It's wonderful to see. You don't always have to be a team leader to be a great rider. Just as Sepp Kuss, of course, notably absent from this race.
Well, it's an interesting moment landed there, because he was 6th in the general classification. Rodriguez is still down the mountain here, and as we can see, Almeida coming in, he was ahead of him also. So this is going to be a one for Landa. He is going to make inroads into that general classification, where he's sitting at 6th at the moment.
What a day, and what a story, a series of stories to tell. Sean, it's about the top 10 now as well, behind the glory of Tadej Pogacar, who has at least got one hand, I think, on the remainder of this race. The margin is so big. Could Tadej Pogacar now just think about going defensive? It's not really in his nature, is it?
Well, he has the advantage now to go defensive, and we did see today it was a bit like that as well, the team, as we can see Yates coming in there at almost 5 minutes, and Rodriguez coming in with Buitrago here over 5 minutes, and that just tells in 5 kilometres, 5:07 for Carlos Rodriguez. That is a huge loss, because on this final mountain of 10 kilometres, this man who put up a great battle in the breakaway, but yeah, it just tells the quality of the performance of Pogacar and the rest that finished ahead here. To take 5 minutes out of some of those guys who are brilliant climbers, this is a monster performance by the men who are fighting to win the race.
Richard Carapaz comes home, and we say chapeau, sir. What a doggedly determined day it was for him, and indeed all of the EF Education Easy Post team. We had the pleasure of Jonathan Waters with us today as well, giving us some great insight into the team and the psyche of the likes of Carapaz, and of course the great Ben Healy. Oh my goodness, what an incredible day. And what an incredible rider. Tadej Pogacar. He hasn't won it, Sean, but he's moved very close to it.
Well, he's taken over a minute again, and he set out this morning in the GC standings. Vingegard was at that 1:57, so over 3 minutes. It is a big advantage, but in a race of 3 weeks, things can change very quickly. There's always the problem, you know, staying safe, sickness as well. And as we know on this tour, it's pretty, you know, prominent. So all of that has to be considered. But time-wise, it is a comfortable one. When you look at the team he's got around him, also, you know, really solid.
Tadej Pogacar takes it 1:08. Yes, that's right, 1:08 over Jonas Vingegard. Remco Evenepoel 2 minutes and 51. Mikkel Landa at 3 minutes and 54. Almeida, fifth home at 4 minutes and 43.